All right, everybody, welcome back. We are diving into something today that I think is really going to resonate with a lot of you out there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
we're talking all things career
Yeah,
strategy. So how do you get where you want to go in your career?
yeah. This is about we're going deep, right?
Yeah,
This
absolutely.
isn't just like what do I do next week? We're getting into the nitty gritty. We're going into like how do you actually build something for the long term? How do you actually get where you want to go? And we've got some tips for you today.
Absolutely. These are tips that come from various different career experts, different publications about really developing a career strategy that works.
Yeah, that's it. One that works because so many times we kind of like drift, right?
Right.
We drift from thing to thing. This is about having a plan.
Right. It's like having a roadmap. It's
Yeah.
like having that GPS. So let's jump into the first point here, which is long-term vision. So what does that even mean?
So I think, we get caught up in the day to day, right? But this is about thinking 5, 10 years down the line. Where do you actually want to be? Not just like what's the next promotion, but really like what does success look like for you?
Right. And I think it's so important to actually think about that and actually envision it.
Yeah.
Because you're right, we do get caught up in, I've got to hit this deadline, I've got to do this thing. But if you don't know where you're ultimately going,
Yeah. You're just going to be on that treadmill.
yeah.
And you're going to get to the end of like 5, 10 years and be like, wait a minute, how did I end up here? This isn't even
How did I get here?
this isn't even what I want.
Right. So first things first, got to have that vision. What does that destination look
It's
like?
absolutely what do you want?
Okay, so you've got the vision. Now let's talk about your skills, right?
Yeah.
What are you good at? What do you need to work on?
Self-awareness. This is huge. This is like such a key. So many times we think we're good at things or we think we're not good at things, but we haven't really taken that honest look.
That honest, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's about taking stock, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you're training for a marathon, you don't just go out and start running 20 miles.
Right.
You got to like assess your fitness level, you got to figure out what you need to work on. So what are you already amazing at? Double down on that. What are the areas that maybe you need to develop a little bit?
Right. So it's kind of like taking inventory. Like, what do I have in my toolbox?
Totally.
And what tools might I be missing that I might need to get to where I want to go?
Yeah, or your tools rusty.
Ooh, good point. Maybe they need to be sharpened.
Do they need to be sharpened, right?
Mhm.
Like when's the last time you really invested in like professional development, learning new skills, keeping yourself up to date?
Okay, I love this. This is like we're laying the groundwork here, people.
Ah.
So we've got the vision, we've assessed our skills.
What's next?
Now, how do we take action?
This is where it gets really exciting.
Yeah.
We got to have a plan, right?
Yes.
But it can't just be this like amorphous blob of I'm going to do this someday.
Yeah.
It's got to be broken down into steps,
Actionable steps.
achievable steps.
Yeah.
So think of it, it's like climbing a mountain, right? If you just look at the top of the mountain, it's like, oh my God, I'm never going to get there.
It's overwhelming.
But if you break it down into base camp 1, base camp 2, each step along the way,
Okay, love that analogy.
it feels more doable.
Yes.
So what are those steps?
Right. For example, like let's say your long-term vision is to be like a CEO, right? You want to be in that leadership position. Well, what are some of those steps along the way that can get you there? Maybe it's taking a leadership course. Maybe it's shadowing somebody in a leadership role.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just going to more networking events where you can practice your leadership skills.
And I think, like you said, breaking it down makes it less overwhelming, but it also gives you that sense of achievement along the way.
Yeah. Every
Okay.
step is a win.
Every step is a win. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're building momentum. You're like, oh, okay, I can do this.
So speaking of networking events, that brings us to our next tip.
Networking.
So important.
It's so important. And I think, a lot of times people kind of like cringe when they hear the word networking. They think like, awkward cocktail parties.
Yeah, small talk.
Yeah, handing out business cards.
Yeah.
But it's really not about that. It's about building genuine connections, right?
Yeah.
It's about finding people who can support you, who can mentor you, who can open doors for you. And, I was reading this study recently and it was fascinating. It said that people who attend industry conferences are twice as likely to land leadership roles compared to those who only network online.
Twice as likely.
Twice as likely. So there's something about like showing up in person, shaking hands, having those face-to-face conversations.
It's like you're putting yourself out there. You're putting a face to a name.
Exactly. You're making a real connection. So don't underestimate the power of networking.
So true. All right, and last but not least, let's talk about flexibility.
Oh, this is huge.
So important because, as we all know, the career landscape is always changing. What's hot today might be, totally obsolete tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like trying to navigate through like a constantly shifting maze.
Yeah, you got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to pivot.
Yeah, and be open to new possibilities, right?
Mm.
So maybe that job that you thought was your dream job 5 years ago, maybe it's not anymore. Maybe there's something else out there that you haven't even considered that would be even better.
Right. Or maybe that dream job has evolved and you've got to evolve with it.
Absolutely.
It actually reminds me of a friend of mine who, for the longest time, she was set on being a lawyer. Like that was her path. And then she started volunteering at this organization and she discovered this passion for urban planning.
Wow.
And she completely pivoted, like did a whole career 180. And she's now designing sustainable cities and she's like the happiest I've ever seen her.
I love that. It's like sometimes the most fulfilling paths are the ones that we don't expect.
Absolutely. So yeah, you got to be open to those unexpected opportunities.
Be open.
So to recap, folks, we've talked about having a long-term vision. We've talked about assessing your skills. We've talked about creating a step-by-step plan, the importance of networking, and of course, staying flexible.
And I think the biggest takeaway from all of this is like it's a journey, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you do these 5 things and then you're done. It's about constantly reassessing, constantly evolving, and just being open to where the path takes you.
I love that. And remember, even if it feels overwhelming, just ask yourself, what is one small step I can take today to get closer to my goals?
That's it. One small step. It can be anything.
Anything.
Reach out to someone on LinkedIn, sign up for a course, update your resume.
Anything at all.
It all adds up.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this career strategy deep dive.
Absolutely. This was fun.
I hope you all learned something today. We'll see you next time.
See ya.